You all know how much I hate to screen share in the middle of one of these, recorded as live videos. So I'm going to start with this screen share to talk about what I think is part of the most important thing going on in the market right now. So let's look on the left, and you'll see that Tesla was down $1.25 today. But you'll also notice that Google was down 54 cents, Meta down $2, Microsoft down $4, NVIDIA down 16 cents, and that other one is just extra in there. But notice the pattern. Most of the patterns are roughly the same for all of the Mag 7. Tesla started out a little lower, but then followed the pattern the rest of the day. But so did Meta, so did Microsoft, so did NVIDIA. So there's a pattern here that's taking place. I believe this pattern is part of this great rotation that I've been talking about for over 2 months. We'll talk about that a little more later. In the meantime, you can take a look over to the right and you'll see what's happening to the Cathie Wood stocks. This is the same day. Okay, the left and the right are both the same day. The Cathie Wood stocks are what I call the risky growth stocks. The risky growth stocks started off and just went straight up all day today. What was going on at the same time that might cause that? Oh, bond yields were dropping. And so as the what people are paying for credit drops, Cathie Wood has always said, we went down because the yields went sky high, and that had multiple effects on these growth stocks. And when they start going down again, back to normal, then I will be the hero again. Well, that's what we're seeing right here. Let me stop sharing and let's go ahead and look at the rest of what we're going to be talking about today. It has been an amazing day, of course, as we continue to watch the entire Tesla saga unfold. We are going to, unfortunately, not have Larry joining us today. We tried to do a show from the airport earlier while he was still in Austin, but the sound turned out to be too rough. But he'll be back with us again on Monday night at the latest for Good News on Good News Monday. He did report that the entire event down in Austin was extremely exciting, and he is more sold on the Cybertruck than he's ever been before. I also had joked this morning about whether the NASDAQ and the Mag 7 and Tesla would keep moving up from that rough start to finish in the green. And I said, well, it's certainly possible. Well, they did obviously all continue up, but only some of them got back into the green. But I think that's all about the rotation, as I mentioned before. I'm going to give another update with regard to Tesla and the Cybertruck later in the program, as I have been watching hours and hours and hours of videos. And I'll give you a couple more videos that I'm going to recommend you watch, and I'll put that down in the description below. So it is on. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like and subscribe and then hit notify, because it is on for tomorrow. Brian and I shot the episode today, and it is a stunner. If you didn't hear me talking about that earlier today, he has come up with a concept. And when we fleshed it out today, it still sounded really, really, really good. And you're not going to want to miss this, because it really begins to, justify everything that we've been talking about in terms of the future valuations of Tesla based on just the car business. And of course, throw in the energy, throw in everything else, it goes crazy. But anyway, I think you'll enjoy that video later today. Thank you very much. More orders coming in today for the Cybertruck bottle opener and refrigerator magnet. You know the drill. They're now $25 each. But if you buy quantities, you do get a break, because I get a break on the freight, quite frankly. I make the same amount, whether you buy one or whether you buy 100. So buy one for 25, buy two for 45, buy three for 65, add $20 if you're outside the country. Please let me know if you want the camo or the stainless steel, and then send the money to paypal.me/Randy Kirk, all in lowercase letters. And if you join Patreon at the $10 level, you get one for free. All that information is below in the description. All right, let's talk about the economy a little bit first. Spending on construction increased 0.6% in October to just over $2 trillion annual rate. according to the Commerce Department on Friday. Economists had believed that was only going to be a 0.3% increase. So the construction industry is getting some tailwind right now, but it's all government. It is not building private dwellings. It is not buying. There's a little bit of building of rental dwellings, but and some commercial. Almost all of it is government right now in terms of the increase. Increase from government spending this year, 16% increase compared to last year. Now, I've said this before. I give Biden some credit for these bills that were trying to onshore manufacturing in the United States. I'm for that. I think it was way over the top in the terms of the amount spent. And Elon Musk even said he didn't want it for Tesla. That he believed it would happen without that spending. So the ISM numbers came in weak. The analysts are arguing that this is why bond yields dropped all the way to under my 3-week target. Okay, my 3-month-old target. So for 3 months, I've been saying that bonds would 30-year, the 10-year bond rather, would peak out at 4.5, which it did. Then I said it would go to 4.25, which it did. And today was the day, and nobody believed me. Nobody else was talking about this. All kinds of folks were saying, Randy, you're completely wrong. But it did it, and now it's gone even further than that, down to 4.21 as we're speaking right now. It's at 4.21. The 2-year is closing the gap, dropping 16.4 basis points today to 4.55. And I'm still trying to find anyone, one pundit, one analyst, anybody, anywhere. I mean, I really did a bunch of searching today to try to explain this bond rally and how the inversion is still holding up, and that the 2-month inversion with the 10-year is getting worse, not better. Even as the 2-year compared to the 10-year starts to shrink, the 2-month compared to the 10-year is actually spreading out. I can't find anybody that's given me an explanation of that. There is no historical parallel. This inversion now has gone longer probably than any other inversion in history. It's supposed to predict recessions most of the time. I continue to say, I'm looking for other people to agree with me. I think it's the demographic shift, the aging population of America, the wealth being in the hands of people over 65, and almost all of it in the hands of people over 55, and the people at those ages invest differently. It's going to impact things like who's buying bonds and who isn't buying bonds at any given time. Now, there's a lot of other factors going on, but quite frankly, it becomes even more confusing if you take into consideration that Japan and China have basically pulled out of the bond market and have been selling bonds during this period. Now, maybe Japan, some people are saying they might be getting back in and buying some now, but I don't think there's any evidence that China is. So, and we know the Fed's been selling bonds. So it becomes even crazier. If you can find somebody with any explanation, please link that in the comments below. I'd like to find one person that has a clue as to why they think this is going on. All right. Then I started asking another question 2 months ago. When will the rotation start? You may remember that. If you watch this program all the time, you know that I started mentioning the rotation day after day about 2 months ago. Well, it just made sense. You have 7 stocks making all the money. And the rest of the Dow, the rest of the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, all barely eking out a gain for the year. And at some point, that has to change. You've got dividends. Some people would prefer to have stocks that have dividends. Those are going to be in these broader stocks that have not moved. You've got those broader stocks being around forever and they're more stable. But these growth stocks have been growing so crazy and making so much money that that's where all the money was going. But I felt that it had to change at some point. So Jim Nebenthal today of Cerity Partners says he thinks consumers are now going to shift away from services and travel to products, and that will cause the broadening out of the market. I don't necessarily agree with him. I'm not sure. I think that, again, the demographics say otherwise. It's going to be all about services and travel. And yeah, will products pick up some? Yes, but I don't think that's a reason it's going to broaden out. I think the reason it's going to broaden out is because the old folks want the dividends. And right now, the dividends are starting to get very rich. So anyway, this was exemplified this week by several companies, including General Motors, saying, yeah, we're gonna get back to dividend. Disney, dividends. Okay, this is what's going to happen next. All right. What about Tesla? Well, Tesla had basically been following the Mag 7 around, as I just pointed out, following the NASDAQ around. They were both moving about the same, but the NASDAQ worse than the NASDAQ, the Mag 7 actually doing worse than the NASDAQ this last week. And we had a FOMO event with Tesla on Tuesday, followed after that with no more FOMO and basically with no sell-off. It has roughly followed the NASDAQ. Yeah, a buck or two worse than the NASDAQ, or a buck or two worse than the Mag 7, but there's nothing there to say any of it had to do with the Cybertruck activity, or any of it had to do with Elon and his X activity. So I don't think that's what's going on. I think that the Cybertruck is maybe the most pre-hyped product in history. I mean, 4 years of hype, and the last 6 months of hype has been crazy, and the last few weeks of hype has been even more crazy. So then Thursday, except for the two biggies, range and price, everything else, the feature set, the capabilities, the performance metrics, the extra goodies that nobody knew about, the engineering, the weight, it just trumps everything. And if you watch these 3-4 videos that I'm going to recommend, that I've been recommending or going to recommend today, you watch these videos, you're going to see these guys are just like, they just can hardly believe how amazing this vehicle is. It is a huge revolution, probably the biggest single revolution for a single vehicle ever. Just one model, changing everything about trucks, but it's changing everything about cars too. 48 volt, the drive-by-wire, the wheels, front and back wheels both being, you can drive from both. The amount of power, the amount of torque in a truck, which is where you want that power and that torque, and yet luxurious inside, amazing luxury inside with all kinds of speakers and legroom in the back, and the entertainment. Nobody's even talking about the entertainment system and the capability that all Teslas have of upgrading over the air, which nobody else is even doing yet. This is a revolutionary truck. It's going to sell like crazy. The pricing, I think, is just about right compared to other trucks that are on the road right now in the ICE field, and better, of course, than the other ones that are in the EV world. And people are just going to want this truck, and they're going to pay the price. Will the price mean that some who have reservations will be priced out of the purchase due to just not having enough income or not wanting to spend quite that much? Yeah, absolutely. And I do hope that there's some kind of a system that allows them to pass on their current purchase, but maybe only move down 100,000 in number and then get another shot, in a few months. And maybe by that time, the rear-wheel drive version will be available and those folks will be able to participate. And maybe by a year from now, the rear-wheel drive version will even be less expensive than what it's being offered for now, or suggested that it will be offered for. Anyway, I hope some of that happens. I'm going to send you this Haggerty video and this curmudgeon video. There's 3 of them all together. I gave you the other video earlier. These are all amazing and fun to watch, and particularly the curmudgeon video. These guys are crazy and fun. And then you should watch the video that Brian Wang and I did earlier today, because we picked up on things that nobody else is talking about. You'll be shocked to see some not little things. Some things are big. And I did that video before I saw a couple of these other videos, and they covered some of these items, but not really, because the list is so long. I mean, the list goes on and on of the revolutionary steps that Tesla has taken. I didn't even mention the wiring. The wiring is revolutionary. The way the car is wired, the way that the various parts of the car speak to each other has reduced the amount of copper that's necessary in the car by, I think, 50%. The numbers are just crazy. This car is an engineering marvel. It is a revolution, and the rest of the world hasn't picked up on this. But when have we seen this before on other events where Tesla does something and it takes 2 or 3 weeks before the rest of the world gets it, before the rest of the world goes, oh my gosh, it does that too? And actually on one of these videos that I'm going to put down below, you kind of see that, because the sidekick in this video doesn't know anything. And the kind of the older guy, he's the one that's done all the testing and gone and visited with Tesla and everything else. And as they talk, and the younger guy is a skeptic, he's like, oh, well, it's not as good as it. And slowly but surely, you see his eyes are just spinning from the capability that this truck has. I think that's what's going to happen to the rest of the world over the next few weeks. And I think that in addition to the stock market going up, which I think it will continue to go up, in addition to risk on coming back, in addition to everything else that we're going to learn about Tesla over the next 4 weeks till the end of the year, in terms of the shipments, et cetera, I think we're going to see the stock continue up. Somebody said today, Randy, and remind me in the description below. I mean, I'm sorry, in the comments, somebody said, Randy, didn't you predict 300 for Tesla by the end of November? And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember. I think I might have suggested that 300 was a possibility, or even higher by the end of the year, as these videos came out, as these third-party videos started to come out, and we started to get third-party folks talking about the truck, so that the rest of the investment class would start to get it. And that's what I think we're going to see over these next few weeks. The main thing I think you should hold me to is all-time high January 31st. So that would be now January 31st or February 2nd. I mean, I'm not going to, but roughly speaking, a week or so after the earnings call in January, that's when I think we'll be back to all-time high. Who knows? I could be completely wrong, but that is what I think is going to happen. So please, here is the card for the video I did with Brian earlier today, Brian Wang, where we really looked for a bunch of the details nobody else is talking about. And then please remember to hit like and subscribe and notify, so that Brian will be back with me. That'll be around between 7 and 8 California time tomorrow morning. I'll be putting that product up, where you'll be learning this very big deal that Brian figured out. And I am kicking myself for not seeing it. Maybe you'll be kicking yourself too, that Brian has done it again. This guy is really pretty smart, but don't tell him, because he'll get a big head and stuff. Anyway, and then do place your order for the Cybertruck bottle opener, and do join Patreon. And I think that'll be it for this Friday night of Good News Friday. It's been great talking to you.